Okay, good morning everyone. We will pick up on Moed Katan on the top of DAF Yud Amud Aleph. We saw in the Mishnah on DAF Ches Amud Beis that Hedyot is Tofer Kedarko, Ve'uman Machliv, that an amateur sews normally on the Moed, because he doesn't really know what he's doing so well anyway. But an Uman, a craftsman who's a professional, he can't do it normally. He needs to be machliv, which we said alludes to the fact that he needs to do something like a kelev, and we'll see what that means. Hedyot Tofer Kedarko on the top of Yud Amud Aleph. An amateur is allowed to sew regularly. Hechidami Hedyot. What does it mean, Hedyot? Who's an amateur? How do you decide who's an amateur? Everybody's going to think that they're a professional, or everyone's going to think that they're an amateur so that they could sew the way that they want to sew. How do you tell somebody's a hedyot? So it's a very easy test. That if a person can go in and out very quickly for many stitches without having to pull tight, and only after he does many stitches will he pull tight, so that's considered to be a uman, a professional. But a hedyot, somebody who needs to tighten each and every stitch, that's considered to be a hedyot, and he can do it kedarko. Rabbi Yossi bar Chanina Omar, Kol she'eno yachol lechavein imra bechafat chaluko. So they used to sew a separate garment to the hem of the bottom of a garment, or the hem of a garment, in order to add a hem to it. So what would they do in order to add another garment? So they would sew an additional garment. So if you know how to sew the garment straight, a hedyot cannot sew this additional garment on the bottom of a other garment straight. So if you couldn't sew an additional garment as a hem on the bottom of another garment straight, that means that you are not a professional, but you are actually a hedyot. Veha uman machliv, and an uman, a professional, is machliv. What does that mean? My machliv. What does that mean? You're machliv. What does it mean? You have to be like a dog. Rabbi Yochanan Amar mafsiya. You need to jump. You need to skip some stitches. The stitches have to be very far apart from each other. Why is that like a dog? So they claim that a dog has teeth that are far apart from each other. I'm not a professional when it comes to dogs, but seemingly a dog's teeth are far apart from each other. You need to stitch far apart from each other. Rabbi bar Shmuel Amar, he says the dog's teeth are not only far apart from each other, they're also zigzag. Shine kavasa. So not only does an uman, according to one opinion, uman needs to have stitches far apart from each other, like the teeth of a dog. Rabbi bar Shmuel says no, the teeth of a dog, maybe they're far apart from each other, but the teeth of a dog are zigzag. And if a uman, a professional, wants to sew on the moed, he needs to sew them like the teeth of a dog in a zigzag fashion. Misargin es hamitos. So what do we see? Misargin es hamitos. If you look back on the Mishnah on Ches Amud Beis, so we saw that you're allowed to do something to the mitos. So we originally said, I think the other day, that we were talking that they had mattresses on top. I don't believe that that's the case. I believe that what they did is they used to make a hammock type bed, and they would sleep on the hammock type bed. So the question is, what does it mean that you're allowed to be misareg? So the Tanakama says you're allowed to do this thing called sirug, and Rabbi Yossi says you're not allowed to do sirug. You have to just be memachin. So memachin is a lower level. It's stricter. You're only allowed to be memachin. So what does it mean you're allowed to be misargin, and what does it mean you're allowed to be memachin? Only memachin. So my misargin and my memachin. Kiyas Rav Dimi Amar Pligi bar Rav Chia bar Abba Rav Yossi v'Ravasi v'Tarai Mishmei Dechizki Rav Yochanan Chad Amar misargin. So it's a machlokes. One opinion says misargin means shasi v'arev. What's shasi v'arev? Lengthwise and widthwise. Basically, you put ropes this way, and you put ropes this way as well, and then you create the base to be able to lay on. So, according to one opinion, according to Tanakama, assuming that you learn Misargin is Shasi v'Arev, U'mimanchin is Shasi b'Arev. So what's the machlokes in the Mishnah? The machlokes is, according to Tanakama, you're allowed to do the bed Shasi v'Arev. You can make the nice bed, and now you can lay on the bed. U'mimanchin, the second opinion, Rabbi Yossi says, no, you're not allowed to do it in normal fashion on the Moed. You have to do it only lengthwise. So you can make the bed that you can lay on, but it can't be done in the regular fashion of lengthwise and widthwise. You can only put the ropes lengthwise, not as comfortable as you would do otherwise. V'chad Amar, and another opinion says, no, that's not the machlokes in the Mishnah. Misargin is shasi b'arev. Even the first opinion doesn't go that far to let you do it in the normal way. They say you have to do it only lengthwise. If you can only do it lengthwise, so then what's the second opinion? Rabbi Yossi saying you can't even do it lengthwise. What do you have to do? U'mimanchin shema yerafoi mimatcho. That if it's loose, you can tighten it. That means that when you have these ropes going across, so sometimes they're going to become loose. So you can tighten them in order to make it a little bit firmer. We call firmer and non-firm mattresses. They had firmer and non-firmer ropes. So according to the first opinion, you can do it regularly, and then the machlokes is, according to Rabbi Yossi, you can only do it shasi one way, and according to the second opinion, the machlokes is that according to the Tanakama, Kama, you can only do it one way, and according to Rabbi Yossi, you can't even do it one way. You could just tighten the ropes. Ini, is this true? Vatani Rav Tachlifa Bar Shaul. This can't be true. There can't be two opinions as to what the machlokes in the Mishnah is. Why? Because everyone agrees in our Mishnah, says Rav Tachlifa Bar Shaul, that you cannot be mafshil the chaval and the chachila. You're not allowed to make the rope. Forget about tightening. Forget about putting it on the bed. You can't even make the rope. You can't take the ingredients. You can't take what it would take. The I don't know what is it made out of. It's the hem, right? So you can't take that. You can't put them together in order to make the rope. So you can't make the rope. So what's the problem? Well, that's the problem if you learn Bishlama Lamandi Amar Mesargin Shasi V'Ariv Menachem Shasi V'Ariv. That makes sense if you learn that the machlokes in the Mishnah is what? That the Tanakama says you're allowed to do Shasi V'Ariv lengthwise and widthwise in a normal way. And the second opinion is why you're allowed to only do Shasi, but what? But everybody agrees that what? Even you can do lengthwise, or you can do lengthwise and widthwise, but what? Everybody agrees, even the Rabbi Yossi, that what? You can only do it lengthwise. You can't actually go ahead and make the rope. If you say that the machlokes is that according to the Tanakama you can go lengthwise, and according to Rabbi Yossi you can't even go lengthwise, you can't even make the bed at all, but what? You can only tighten it, then what? Everyone agrees that what? You can't even do Shesi Variv. Even the Tanakama says you can't do Shesi and Ariv according to this opinion. Therefore what? How do you have to tell me chavalim lechatchila mibai? You need to tell me that both people in the Mishnah agree that you can't make ropes? Why would you have to tell me that? If you can't even, according to either opinion, you can't even do it normally, of course you can't make the rope. If you tell me that you can do it normally according to the first opinion, then you need to tell me that even the first opinion, what says? You can do it normally, but you can't make the rope. But if even the first opinion says you can't make the bed normally, you can't do Shesi V'Arev, so then obviously you don't have to tell me that you can't make rope according to either opinion. Kashya, you're right, it's a Kashya. And the Rishonim point out, the Rivke gives an answer, but the Rishonim point out that when you have Tiyufta, that's like a star Kashya. Kashya, there's a way to answer it. But Tiyufta is, but either way, we have a Kashya if you learn like the second approach as to what the machlokes is in the Mishnah. So right now, based on the Kashya, we're going to go with the first approach. What's the first approach? That the machlokes is that according to Tanakama, you can do it regularly, Shesi and Arev, lengthwise and widthwise, and according to Rabbi Yossi, you can only do it lengthwise. Obviously, according to everybody, you could what? You could tighten the rope. Now we're going to ask a second Kasha, like we already, you know, like when you reject the person and then you just want to like give them like an extra oomph. So now we're going to even reject you even further. The second opinion who said that the machlokes is that according to the Tanakama you can only do Shesi, and according to Rabbi Yossi you can only tighten the rope. So why Vatanan? Meir Omer Hamita. Meir says that a mita is only mekabel tuma mishayisrog ba shlosha batim. It's only mekabel tuma when it's done with 3 batim, i.e. when you have Shesi and Arev and you have 3 boxes. Because again, when you have lengthwise and widthwise, it creates boxes. So it's only mekabel tuma when it's done in a way that what? That it's Shesi and Arev, and not just Shesi. What does that imply? Misha Yisrog, what's he using the word Misha Yisrog for? To tell you what? To create boxes. How do you create boxes? Shesi and Arev. What does that mean? That the word Yisrog means what? Shesi Arev. And therefore in our Mishnah, again, we had a machlokes as to how to interpret the first opinion in the Mishnah that you're allowed to be masrig, and we said either it means Shesi and Arev, or according to the second opinion, which we already ejected, it means what? Just Shesi. It can't be the second opinion, just Shesi, because we see Misha Yisrog, the word by definition, means Shesi and Arev. So we have 2 rejections of the second opinion, and again, just a chazer, we're back to the machlokes, and our Mishnah is what? According to Tanakama, you're allowed to be Yisrog, you're allowed to do Shesi and Arev, you're allowed to make this bed with the ropes, both lengthwise and widthwise, and make a nice, I don't want to say comfortable, but comfortable hammock to sleep on the Moed. And according to Rabbi Yossi, you're allowed to only do it one way, but according to everybody, you're allowed to tighten the ropes. Just that I said, everybody agrees that misargin means, not that everybody agrees because we know there's machlokes in the Mishnah, everybody agrees that what the Tanakama means in our Mishnah when he says you're allowed to be misarg, that means shasi v'arev, ela ki pligi b'matachin. So now he says no. So you've only brought me a kashya on the first opinion in the Mishnah. You've proved to me that the first opinion in the Mishnah holds that you're allowed to be misarig. What does that mean? You can do shesi v'arev. But that doesn't mean that the second opinion in the Mishnah means that what? You're only allowed to do shesi. Maybe the second opinion is saying you can't even do shesi. You can what? You can only tighten. Mar savar memadchen shesi below arev. Mar savar shim hayarafoy memadcho. Meisvei. So we have a kasha. Again, we're trying to figure out what the second opinion in the Mishnah is. In the first opinion in the Mishnah, we've already agreed upon. Everybody agrees that the first opinion in the Mishnah is the Tanakama says that on Yantiv, on Moed, you're allowed to do shesi and arev. You're allowed to put the ropes just lengthwise and widthwise. The question is that when Rabbi Yossi says you're only allowed to be memachin, so what does that mean? Does that mean you're only allowed to do shasi, or does that mean you can't even do shasi, but you can do only tightening? Meisvei misargin es hamisa mita, you're allowed to be misarg the mita. That's like the Tanakama. Vein tzarich lo mar shem memachin divrei Rabbi Meir. That's the Tanakama. You could be misarg. You could actually go ahead and be misarg, and you could also be memachin. Whether memachin means just shasi or it means that you can tighten it. Rabbi Yossi mer memachin avalo misargin. That's like Rabbi Yossi in our Mishnah, that you could be memachin but you can't be misargin. The problem is now v'yesh omrim ein memachin klal. And there's an opinion that says you can't be memachin at all. So let's think about this outside for a second. What are the two options of what memachin means? Memachin either means that what? You can only do it lengthwise, not like the normal way, or memachin means what? That you have to that you tighten it. Is it possible to suggest that there would be an opinion that would hold that you can't even tighten the ropes on Moed? Why would somebody possibly hold that? So once you see that there's a third opinion, not in our Mishnah, there's a third opinion who holds that you can't even be memachin, by definition, that shows you that memachin is what? Doesn't mean tightening. That means that memachin means shasi, and everybody would agree that you could tighten it. So what comes out at this point is that the machlokes, again in the Mishnah, is the way that we described it numerous times. According to the Tanakama, you could do it in the regular way. Shasi va'arev. You can make the regular boxes and everything. It's going to be makabel tumah the whole to do. So you'll have a place to sleep. According to Rabbi Yossi, you can what? You can only do shasi. You can only do lengthwise. According to everybody, you're not going to be able to tighten it, because it's impossible to say that it would be a problem with tightening it. Says the Gemara, no. We're just going to say it inside. This is what I already said outside. It makes sense if you tell me that memachin means just shasi. That's how you could have somebody that says, no, you can't even do just lengthwise. If you're going to tell me there's an opinion that holds you can't even tighten it, what kind of malacha is that? Yes. It's not a malacha, but it's a tircha shelo letzorech. It's something that's unnecessary exertion. Why? Because even though it's not going to be the most comfortable thing in the world, you don't have to actually go ahead and exert yourself to tighten them. What can you do? You could fill in the spots that are a little bit, remember, they're going down. They're not really exactly tight. So you just fill in so it's not so comfortable. You can't really lay on them if they're not tight. Let's assume even that the rope's like going to the floor at this point. So what can you do? You just put pillows on top, and now on the Moed you can sleep on the pillows. So again, we haven't proved what memachin means. Memachin can mean one of two things at the end of the day. We have the Tanakama who for sure holds you're allowed to do shesi, or you could build it in the regular way. The problem is now we still don't know at the end of the day whether the Rabbi Yossi is coming and saying you're allowed to do shesi and even tighten it, or at the end of the day we're not sure if Rabbi Yossi would hold what? That you're only allowed to tighten it, but you can't do shesi. Okay, that is how we learned it. Mas Nisan, the Mishnah says, Ma'midin tanor v'kirayim v'rechayim b'moed. You're allowed to build an oven and a kirayim. What's the difference between an oven and a kirayim? So an oven holds one pot, and a kirayim holds two pots. If you want to remember it, one of them is in the plural and one of them is in the singular. V'rechayim b'moed. You're also allowed to build and make a millstone on the Moed. What's a millstone? Well, it's when you take two stones, and what are they used for? They're used to grind wheat. You put one stone on top, one stone on the bottom, and you hit them or move them around together, and it actually grinds the wheat kernels. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, ein mechapshin et harechayim betchila. Rabbi Yehuda says that you can't do the thing called mechapshin to a millstone on the Moed. So again, you have the fact you're allowed to build, according to Tanakama, you could build ovens, and you can also build millstones. According to Rabbi Yehuda, you can't be mechapshin millstones. What does that mean? We'll have to see. My mechapshin, so we're going to start with the second opinion. What does it mean when he says you can't be mechapshin millstones on the Moed? Rabbi Yehuda Omer menaker reiche, Rabbi Chiel Amar bas eina. So there's two different types of things that you might be doing here. You might be smooth, you might be making ridges on the bottom, right? There's two possibilities. First, we're going to talk about the bottom stone. One opinion is that when it says mechapshin, it means you're doing something to the bottom stone. What are you doing? Well, when you're going to go ahead and you're going to grind the wheat, so the bottom stone can't be smooth. The bottom stone needs to have ridges in it, so that when you pound the top stone on the bottom stone, it's actually going to really grind the wheat well. Or when you, I guess, move it back and forth, it's going to grind the wheat well. So one opinion is that when Rabbi Yehuda says you can't be mechapshin, means you can't fix the ridges and put ridges in the bottom stone on the Moed. Rabbi Yechiel says no, that's not what Rabbi Yehuda is saying. Rabbi Yehuda says maybe you can make the ridges. What does it mean? You can't make a hole in the rock. Why would you make a hole in the rock? Well, you'd make a hole in the top rock. Why would you make a hole in the top rock?
So it can roll. You put it
the kernels.
No, so you could put the kernels in. You're talking about making a hole on the top of the rock, so you could drop the kernels in, and then you can go ahead and you can grind them.
It's like in the center, like a wheel, and you would put a hole in,
Right, so it doesn't sound like, that's interesting, but it doesn't sound like you're using anything but the rocks. According to this, it seems like you're just using the two rocks to grind the wheat. Meisvei, so we have a kasha again on the definition of what mechabesh is. Does it mean to put ridges in the bottom rock, or does it mean to make a hole for the wheat in the top rock? Meisvei mamid in tana v'kirayim b'moed uvavachlo yigmor melachdan. This is a similar discussion of our Mishnah. Divrei Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi Eliezer says very similar to our Mishnah, but you'll notice that he adds over here, he adds another thing that what? You can't be yigmor melachdan. You can make the tana v'kirayim b'moed, but you have to leave a little part of it off. Why? Because he holds that you need a little bit of a shinoi on the moed. V'chachamim omrim af yigmor. Chachamim seem to be the same person as the Tanakama in our Mishnah, who doesn't clarify that it needs to be shelo yigmor melachdan. And the Mishnah says you can make a tana, you can make kirayim a regular way. That seems to be like the Chachamim. Rabbi Yehuda omer b'shmo, similar to our Mishnah, ma'amidin es hachadasha. It seems to saying that he's agreeing with the Tanakama that you're allowed to build a rechaim, because that's what the Tanakama says. But what? Umechapshin es hayishana. You're allowed to be mechabesh the yishana. What do you notice there? Well, he just said what? He said in the Mishnah what? You can't be mechabesh. So as Rabbi Yehuda say, you can't be mechabesh, or you can't be mechabesh. So I'd like to suggest that this is not the meisvei that the Gemara is asking, because you can learn that the Mishnah and Rabbi Yehuda here are the same. Why? Because if you notice in the Mishnah, what does it say? Ein mechabshin es harechayim betchila. You can make the ridges, let's just say for argument's sake, or make the hole originally. But if you have an old one which just was smoothed out from overuse, or the hole, let's see for a second, got lost or small or whatever, we'll have to see what that means. So you're allowed to be mechabesh the old one. But in the Mishnah he's saying you can't be mechabesh a new one, and it's not a contradiction. But what's the problem? V'yesh omrim ein mechabshin kol ikar. And somebody holds you can't even be mechabesh an old one. So let's see what the problem is. Again, we're dealing with what the definition of mechabshin is. Bishlama l'man di'amar mechabshin menaker reiche hainu de mishkachas al b'yeshana. I understand if you tell me that the word mechabesh means to make ridges. I understand why you'd have to make ridges in an old one, because over time it smooths out. El l'man di'amar bas eina yeshana bas eina lamali. How is it possible to say that mechabesh means to make a hole? So what does it mean that you can't make a hole in an old one? How have you been using it until now if it's an old one? By definition, if it's an old one, it already has a hole, or else you wouldn't be able to, again, we're assuming that you're not picking up the rock every time you're putting in the wheat. You're dropping the wheat kernels through the hole on the top. So he's saying, no, kigon de kaboy lervuche tfei porsa. No, it has a hole. It just means you want to widen the hole a little bit. So again, we still can learn, even after this kasha, which we pushed off, we could still learn that mechabesh means one of two things. Either mechabesh means that you're going to make ridges in the bottom rock, or mechabesh means that you're going to widen the hole at the top rock. Rav Huna heard that somebody was making the ridges on the stone on Chol Moed. Amar manhai, this person ischa gufe. His body should be desecrated. He feels you're not allowed to make ridges on Chol Moed. Savar laki yeshomrim. So he holds like the yeshomrim. We say that even on an old one, how do we know he holds like the yeshomrim? That even on an old one, because Rav Huna didn't even know whether the guy was using an old one or a new one. Without even finding out what kind of thing he was using, he just said the guy's going to be cursed. His body should be desecrated, which seems to hold what? You can't even use an old one. You can't even make ridges on an old one. Darash Rav Chama, Nokrin, Rechayim b'Moed. He holds that you're allowed to make Rechayim on the Moed. Who does that seem to be going like? That seems to be going like either Rabbi Yehuda in the Mishnah, who says you can make it on old ones, or seemingly he's arguing and saying you could even make ridges on new ones. So that's a discussion about mechapshin. So again, just going back to our Mishnah, Rabbi Yehuda Omer ein mechapshin es harechayim b'tchila. We have machlokes as to what that means. Does he mean that you're not allowed to make ridges, or that you're not allowed to make the hole? But seemingly we have a brisa later on that says Rabbi Yehuda in our Mishnah is only saying lechatchila in the beginning. But if you already had an existing mill stone, so then you're allowed to make the ridges and or make the hole in the rock. Fine. We're going to go to a new topic now, in case you didn't like talking about millstones. Mishum Rabbi Meir Amar. So this is interesting. Rabbi Meir says, "Afilu sush sherochev alav v'chamor sherochev alav mutar litol tziparnayim b'chol shamoed." You're allowed to cut the nails of your horse on Chol Moed. Why? But why would you not be able to? Because it's malacha shalol l'tzorech. What would be the purpose of cutting the nail? So Rashi says on the bottom of Yud Amud Aleph, so it's interesting. We'll see further on in the Gemara that we're not so concerned about the animal having tsar. It's not really a lot of tsar for them not to cut their nails. But what's the problem? Really, the last three words in Rashi is the more important part. If you don't cut the nails of the horse, so what's it's going to do? It's not going to walk as well. So if you had to go from from here to here on the Moed, which you're allowed to do. You're allowed to go and travel on the Moed on your horse. And that's interesting. Tosfos over here points out what? It needs to be l'tzarech hamoed. It needs to be for the enjoyment or to go somewhere. You can't just get on a horse stam. I don't say it's muksa, but seemingly we would say that there's some type of muksa involved. That again, chol moed is like the moed unless there's a purpose. So you're allowed to get on your horse and go somewhere. So you're allowed to cut the nails of a horse, because if you don't cut the nails, it's going to be a little bit of discomfort. Again, you wouldn't be able to cut it just if it's sitting in the barn. But if you're going to use it and you're not going to cut the nails, it's not going to walk or run as fast as it would have normally run, and therefore it's considered to be tzorech hamoed to cut the nails of the horse, so that it'll take you in a appropriate fashion where you need to go. Aval chamra dereiche lo. Interesting. So Rabbi Meir holds, though, you cannot cut the nails of a chamor that's going to be used not to take you somewhere, because if it's going to be used to take you somewhere, you're allowed to cut the nails so that it takes you in the appropriate way. You can't cut the nails of a chamor that's used to grind the wheat by the millstone. So they had the really big ones, and what would they do? They would tie a rope to the chamor, and the chamor would move, and what would happen? It would actually grind the stuff. Why can't you cut the nails? What's wrong with cutting the nails of the chamor? So Rashi points out that what? The chamor will do the work that you need for it to do for the moed. That means without cutting its nails, it'll grind enough wheat. It doesn't have to do much. It'll grind enough wheat for what? For you to use for the few days of the moed. So in terms of the moed use, you don't need to cut the nails. What are you going to accomplish by cutting the nails? It'll be able to do even more. And what? Now you'll have what? Now you'll have wheat for when? For after the moed. So you're cutting the nails in essence for what? For a purpose of after the moed. If you don't cut the nails, if you didn't cut the nails and it wouldn't work at all for you, then of course you could cut the nails. But the Gemara is learning that what? If you don't cut the nails, it'll still work. It'll still grind the wheat for you. So you can't cut the nails, because all you're accomplishing by cutting the nails is you're going ahead and giving you wheat for after the moed. Goes along Rabbi Yehuda and says, no, I argue. Shari lemishgal tufrei lechamrei derecha. You're allowed to cut the nails on the moed. Why? Because he holds it's not a din that it's going to give you more wheat. It's that it's going to be more efficient even for the wheat on moed, which seems to be, again, the way I understand it, it seems that what? It's going to be able to grind it even better. You'll have an even finer flour. That means if he has, right, we all know, if you have an ingrown toenail, so you can walk. But you're not going to walk as well as you would walk without the ingrown toenail. So if he has long nails, he'll be able to do the work for you and grind the wheat, but he's not going to be able to grind it as fine as he would. So it's considered tzarech hamoed. So the first opinion says, no, it's not tzarech hamoed. It's talking about quantity, how much, and you don't need more than you need on the moed. It seems like the second opinion is saying it's about the quality. And the quality itself, even for that which you need on the moed, won't be as good if you don't cut its nails on the moed. And therefore you can cut the nails on the moed. Weiter. Ulo kome reche ula mivne reche, and there's a girsa that takes out one of these two because it seems to be saying the same thing. Similar to our Mishnah, you're allowed to build a millstone on Chol HaMoed. Ula mivne emas reche, you can build a frame of the millstone on the Moed. Ula mivne orea, you can also build a stable for the horses on the Moed. Rav shara lisruke susi. Listen, this is interesting. Rav says you're allowed to comb your sus, even though you might make a make a chavala in it, you might give it a boo-boo. You're allowed to comb it, even though you're not allowed to give a boo-boo. Why are you allowed to comb it? Because it's tzarech hamoed. Why is combing your horse tzarech hamoed? Because it's pashnish. It's not nice for somebody to go onto a horse where it's the horse is all disheveled. It's one thing for you to be disheveled, but for your horse to be disheveled, you gotta look nice on the moed. And not only do you have to look nice on the moed, your horse has to look nice on the moed. So combing is considered to be what? Tzarech hamoed. Ulemivne akrafita. You can build a place for the animals to eat out of. Ulemivne itztaba. You could build a bench. You could do all these things on the moed. Okay. Now we're going to have some interesting cases. Rava shara lemishkal dama lebehema b'chol hamoed. You're allowed to bloodlet an animal on chol hamoed. Seemingly it's for the health of the animal. Amar le'abai tani dimselech. I have a brisa that supports you what? Mazikin makizin dam lebehema vein monin refuah lebehema b'chol hamoed. You're allowed to bloodlet because what? It's for the good of the animal and ultimately for your good. You're allowed to bloodlet and you're allowed to do any refuah for the animal on the moed. Rava shara liksuse kirme. Rava says you're allowed to press garments on the moed. My taima, my sehedyotu. Anybody knows how to press garments. I don't know what they're talking about. I have no idea how to press garments. But claimingly, they seem to be saying that a my sehedyot is not considered to be a professional thing to be able to press garments. I guess I got to learn how to press garments.
Sit on it. That's it.
You sit on it, right? You give it to your wife, no, and then it's done. So I know how to press garments. I give it to the cleaners. That's how I press garments. Amar Rav Yitzchak bar Ami, Amar Rav Chisda, kiture bire aser. That kiture bire is going to be aser. you're not allowed to make pleats in the garment. Why? So now we're talking. My time and my umanu. These are my type of people. You can't make pleats because what? Pleats are professional. I agree. Pleats are professional. I agree. But I think that pressing garments are also professional. Clearly, the Gemara didn't think so. Amarava man. So now we're gonna have a few cases, very interesting cases where what? We're gonna have a few cases where you're allowed to do something, but you're only allowed to do it if you're doing it for certain circumstances and not for other circumstances. And therefore, what the question of the Gemara is going to be, how are we going to tell what the mindset of the person is? Of course, if you ask him, what's he going to say? I'm doing it for the permitted circumstance. But how are we going to tell by looking at the action whether he's doing it for the permitted reason or for the non-permitted reason? So let's give an example.
What does that have to do with you? It has to do with him.
But again, we're going to judge whether a person is a... No.
Well, don't judge.
And therefore what?
Therefore, let him do what he wants to do. As long as his intention was correct in his mind, then that's fine.
Interesting. So let's see the cases, and then let's try to fit it back to what you're saying. Amarava, man de matgilara daita de bedari sharia daita de ara asar. So the case here is a person is digging the ground. So if he's digging the ground to make it fit for threshing, which you're allowed to thresh on Yontif, so you'll have the food on Yontif, that's fine. But if he's digging the ground in order to what? If he's digging the ground in order to make it fit for planting, which he's going to have no benefit for on Yontif, he can't do it. The question is, hey chidami, you see a guy digging. Well, I guess we have to enforce the laws. I'm saying we're talking about BAYT, you have to enforce the laws. So we see a guy digging. So of course if you ask him what's he going to say, I'm digging it for what? For threshing. It's mutter on Yontif. But if I'm the police and I want to enforce the laws and I see a guy digging, how do I prove to the court of law that when I caught him and I arrested him, he was actually digging for the purposes of the Moed, that he was digging not for the purpose of Moed, he was digging for planting, and he wasn't digging like he quote-unquote claims for the purposes of threshing. So we'll tell you, very easy, hey chidami. Mulya b'mulya v'natza b'natza daita de beideri. If you see him taking, I'm going to learn like the others, because the others, the way that not the way that Rashi learns, the way that the others learn makes more sense. If mulya b'mulya v'natza b'natza adaita de beideri shaka mulya v'shada b'natza adaita de ara. That what? When you make the ground flat, that means you have a mound here and you dig the mound and you either put it back into a mound or you go ahead and you put it into a hole. Right? You have a mound and you either dig a mound and put it back into a mound, you're just basically turning it over, or you take the mound and you put all the dirt into a hole. So if you take the mound and you put it into a hole, what's that for? That's for flattening the ground. Why would you be flattening the ground? You'd be flattening the ground seemingly for threshing purposes. If you take a mound and you put it back into a mound, so what are you doing? You're just sort of... You're plowing, you're just turning over the dirt, and you're doing it for planting purposes. So again, if you see a guy who's taking a mound, and he's taking the mound and flattening it out and putting it into a hole, so then you know that he's doing it for the right reasons. He's doing it so he could flatten out his ground so he could thresh. If you see a guy who's taking a mound and then just putting it back into a mound, so then you know that the person is doing it for planting purposes. You have a guy who was sweeping the ground. What was he sweeping the ground? He was sweeping the ground from wood. Again, they didn't have carpet. They didn't have vacuum cleaners. They didn't even have necessarily. They had just dirt. And they had dirt. And on the dirt, they had different types of wood sometimes. So, so if you see the guy sweeping the ground and he's trying to get rid of all the wood, so if he's doing it for the wood, it's okay. If he's doing it to clean the ground, it's usher. Why are you allowed to do it for the wood? Why are you allowed to sweep the ground for the wood? To use the wood on Yantiv. Why are you not allowed to sweep the ground stam? Because what are you seemingly doing it for?
Smoothing.
So you're smoothing it. That's interesting. I thought maybe you're doing it for planting. If you're just sweeping the ground to straighten it, you're doing it for planting. I would have said maybe you're just doing it to clean up the house. Yeah. But we'll see in the Gemara that the Gemara is going to say what? Hey chidami, how do you know whether he's doing it for the wood or whether he's doing it for a purpose that's not permitted on Yantiv? Well, very easy. Shakel river shavik zut. If he only takes the big pieces of wood and he leaves the small ones, adaite de Tzvi. Obviously he's doing it for the wood because you're not going to pick up the small piece of wood to burn. You're not going to get very far. If you see him only taking up the big pieces, he's clearly taking the pieces for what? To put into the oven so he can burn them and use them for permitted purposes to cook or for heat on Yantiv. Shakel ravav zut. If he picks up even the small pieces, you know he's trying to flatten out the ground and make the ground good so he could ultimately go ahead and plant. For Amarava, another case, you have a guy who opened up a gate to let the water come flowing into his field. So what are the two options here? Well, I've gone fishing before. This is a very interesting way to fish. They claim that this was one way of fishing, is you'd open up the water from the pond or from the river into your field, and what would happen? Well, it depends. If you would let the water out on the other side, so what would happen? All the fish that were in the water would come onto your field, and now you'd have a whole thing of fish on your field, and you'd have food to eat. What happens if you didn't let the water out on the other side? So seemingly you'd also have fish. But besides the fish, what would you have? Your entire field would be watered. So how do you know if he's doing it for the fish, which would be mutter, or he's doing it to water his field, which would be asur? Hechidami. Patach trei ba bechad malya v'chad matzah adaita dekure. Obviously, if he has two and he opens up a top one and he lets the water in, but he also opens up the bottom hole to let the water out, he's clearly doing it for what? For the fish, so that the water will come in and out, but leave the fish there for you to eat on the moed. Patach chad baba adaita diara. If he only opens up one hole and he doesn't open up the other one to let the water out, so then he's clearly not doing it for the fish, he's doing it for the water, and you're not allowed to water your ground on moed for after the moed. For Amarava, another case, Haiman de Pashach Dikla. You have the guy who's removing branches from his dekel tree, from his palm tree. So what are the two options? Either he's doing it adaita de chiyusa shar, or even he's doing it because he wants to have the branches. Why would he want the branches?
Food, to eat it.
Hopefully not to eat it himself, to feed to his animals. If he's doing it to just prune the tree so that it'll grow better for when? For after the moed. He's obviously not doing it. How do you know if a guy's cutting branches for his animals or to feed his for his animals or to just prune the tree? Well, obviously, if he cuts off from one side, he's doing it just for the animals. If he's cutting off all the branches on the tree, then he's pruning a tree the real way. That's what the Gemara says. If he only takes from one side, then he's doing it for the animals. If he takes it off from both sides and he cuts all the branches on the tree, obviously he's doing it to prune the tree. A little bit more. Ve'amarava. Hani tamre tuchline migzirinu shari mitzinu aser. This is a halacha l'maisa discussion we're allowed to get into. If you go to work on Yantiv, or if you're allowed to go to work, on Chol HaMoed or not, if you're allowed to do business on Chol HaMoed. How do we start it? We just started with a discussion of you have unripened dates. So you have unripened dates, and you're going to allow, it says here, you're allowed to open them to eat them, but you're not allowed to press them to take out the juice to ultimately go ahead and dry them out. Why not? Because what are you doing? You're doing an action of pressing them out of the juice so that what? So you could dry them out to have them when? To have them after the moed. So again, if you have unripened fruits, you're allowed to eat them on the yontiv, on moed, but you're not allowed to dry them out because that will be for only use after the moed. Rav Papa Amar, and this is the key, Rav Papa says, Kevan de Mitale, no. Since if you leave the unripened dates, what's going to happen? They're going to become all wormy. They're going to become all wormy and ruined. Therefore, kiprakmatya ha'ave dami v'shari. This is the source of everything we always quote for Chol HaMoed. He says, no, the unripened dates you could eat, and if you don't want to eat, you are allowed to press them out to dry them. It's for after the moed, yeah, but you're allowed to do work for after the moed if it's a davra ave, because if you would leave them now and you wouldn't press out the juice and dry them, then what? They're going to get all wormy and they're going to get ruined. And therefore, for Amar Rabba, this is where we go. Pragmatya kol shuas. You're not allowed to do business on the moed. But Amar Rav Yossi bar Avin uvidavar ha'aved mutter. If you're going to have a financial loss, you're allowed to do work on the moed. Now, this is a very, very touchy subject because everybody seems to like throw up. This is like one of those, right? We always have parts of Shas that like everybody likes to know, and they always use it up as like a kula. What do you mean? I could go to work with davar aved? No, that's not what it's saying here. It's saying that if you're going to have a financial loss, you're allowed to go. So if you're going to lose your job by not going to work on the moed, obviously you could go to work. Toso says that what a financial loss means financial loss on the principal. That means if you have stocks, so you're allowed to monitor the stocks that you have. But you can't say, I have a financial loss if I don't buy this stock. No, you can't buy new stocks on the moed. You can just monitor the ones, you can monitor the products that you already have. You can't necessarily go ahead and buy new products and then use that for sales. But if you have products in stock, and if you don't sell them, then they're going to go to waste or they're going to get ruined. The easiest example is having a grocery store. If you have fruits, and if you don't, so we don't say you can't do business with the fruits, because if you lose the fruits, you can't necessarily buy new fruits to then go ahead and sell. Just giving a basic example. But if you have the fruits there and they're going to get ruined, you're allowed to go ahead and sell them. That's one interpretation of financial loss. And the Rush adds another heter, but please don't tell this to your wife. The Rush says that if there's a special sale on the moed, which you can't get after the moed, that's considered to be a davar aved, financial loss. If you don't tell this to your wife, you just tell her she can't go shopping on the moed. But if you tell her this, and she's going to say, what do you mean it's on sale? Everything's always on sale. So nowadays it's a sale, so we say that that's considered to be a davar aved, and if something's on sale, since you won't be able to get it at the sale price after the moed, then you're allowed to get it. Again, this is a cooler that's just thrown around, but we know, like in America, again, I'm sorry, I don't know all the Canadian stores, but in America, Macy's, there's a 25% sale. There's a 25% sale every single day of the year. Just happens to be that today's a Labor Day sale, tomorrow's a this day sale, today's just the regular Wednesday sale. But in general, if it's a 25% off every day, that's not considered to be davar aved. But if there's really a 50% off sale, or Brooks Brothers has 50% off sale once a year or twice a year, so then theoretically it seems like on the moed you'd be able to buy the shirts, because if you don't buy it that week and you need a shirt and you can't wait another 6 months to get a shirt, then seemingly that would be a davar aved. So again, Davar Aved, for sure you can go to work if you're going to lose your job. For sure you could deal with principle. You can't necessarily deal with things that are not principle, things that you didn't necessarily have to deal with. And secondly, according to the Rush at least, you can go and get something that's on sale you won't be able to get after. But beware. Ravina Havalehu Iska to have him Mizdavim Bishita Alfe. It seems like Ravina had something that he could have sold for 6,000. The Gemara doesn't say whether it was a Davar Ha'aved or not. Seemingly not, but maybe with Ravina it was something that he took a chance. What happened? Shehiyah Lizvune Basar Chola Demoid Vizivna Betresar Alfe. He didn't do business on Chola Moed with a $6,000 item, and what happened? Right after the Moed he sold it and he got $12,000. It doubled in price because he listened to the rabbis and didn't go ahead and do business on the Moed. Ravina have a Masik Zuze Bibnei Akara Dishanusa. This is an interesting case as well. Ravina was owed money by the people of this town called Akra Shanusa. Asal Kamed Ravashi. So what did he say? Well, you have to remember, let's just use an example. You have a lot of boys from here who go to college in Toronto, but they also go to, let's say, Yeshiva University. So what happens? What do? They all come home for the Moed. So let's say you lent a guy money in high school, you lent a guy money last year, now he goes to YU. So it's going to be impossible to get the money back. But now, all of a sudden, he comes back for Yontif, but he's only home for Chol Moed. So can I collect the debt from him on Chol Moed or not? So the Gemara says yes. Why? Because that's considered to be Davar Aved. So he asked the Kasha, Mahu Lemezel Ha'inna Alayu. Can I go collect the debt from these people who are only around on the Moed? They only came home for Chol Moed. They're going to go back and right after the Moed, I'm not going to be able to collect the debt from them. Amar Lei, Kevan de Ha'inna Hu de Meshkachas Lahu. Since you can only collect from them today, so Biyome Achvina Lo Meshkach, so Bepragmat Yahaved Dami Vishari. And that's the same exact thing in business. If you have a guy and he's willing to give you money and you've been begging him money for the last 6 months, and all of a sudden on Chol Moed he just for some reason comes and says, I want to pay you. So you're not going to say, oh, I'm not going to take the money now, it's Chol Moed, because if you say that, what? You're never going to get the money from him. So if there's a case where you're never going to be able to get the money otherwise, we don't want, the rabbis are not mean people, we don't want you to lose the money. So we say, Davar Aved, and you're allowed to collect the money. One more case. Tanya Nami Gabi Avodah Zarah Ki Agavna. What did we say? We said the other day that what? We said that there's a halacha that you're not allowed to go ahead and do business with Ovdei Avodah Zarah 3 days before their holiday. Why not? Because we're worried that if you do business with them, then they're going to go and they're going to thank the Avodah Zarah on the holiday. So there's a similar heter that even though in general you can't do business with them 3 days within their holiday, if it's a Davar Ha'aved, if it's something that you wouldn't be able to get at the same price after their holiday, even though the business with them will cause them to go ahead and what? And thank their gods on the Moed, on their festivals, since it's a Davar Aved for you and you couldn't get it at that price unless you went now within 3 days, you're allowed to buy it within 3 days. So just like there's a heter of Davar Aved on Chol Moed, there's a heter of Davar Aved even though it's going to cause the non-Jew, the Oved Avodah Zarah, to praise his God. Let's just see that inside. Tani Nami Gav Avodah Zarah Ki Agavna Hochin, top of Yud Aleph Amud Aleph, Hochin Liyirid Shel Akum. Right? They used to have a market. They always had the marketplaces, but when they had the holidays, then they really had the flea market, right? Because it makes sense. Like you go to Meron on a regular day, they're selling stuff. You go to Meron on Lag BaOmer, every single person, you can't even get up to the kever because every single person, there's millions of people selling things. So similar over there, yes, the Ovdei Avodah Zarah had stores and they had markets, but around their holidays, they had real markets. What happens when you have a lot of people selling in the market? The prices go down. Demand up, prices down, right? We got that. Okay, I learned something in school. Perfect. So therefore what? They're allowed to buy, it says you're allowed to buy, even within 3 days of their holidays, when they were having the market for their holidays, you're allowed to buy behema, you can buy animals, you can buy avadim, you can buy servants, you can buy houses, you can buy fields, you can buy vineyards. You can even go to their courts, which you usually couldn't do. Why? You're saving from their house. What does that mean? You're saving money for yourself. That means even though, like we said, the Ovdei Avodah Zarah are going to go ahead and they're going to thank their gods, we have a heter that since for you, you're going to be saving money, and since it's considered to be Davar Ha'aved, if you don't buy it when it's on sale and it's very low, reduced price during their market time, even though it's going to cause them to go ahead and thank their gods within the next 3 days when they go to the gods, you're allowed to do it because just like on Chol Moed, Davar Ha'aved is mutter, so too, Davar Ha'aved is mutter when it comes to buying from Ovdei Avodah Zarah. Have a wonderful day.